In this video, I'm just going to show you the exact steps on how to build a bulletproof system for your business in 2025. Essentially, these systems are going to allow you to sit back and just print predictable outcomes without micromanaging your entire business. And the reason I'm making this video is because in the last 2 years, I've been building systems and processes for almost every day. And so I thought, well, since one of my clients who's doing around $3.3 million a year rebuilding some of their systems, why not create this video for the people on the internet? So in this video, I've broken it down into 3 key sections. The first is why do business systems fail? The second is how to fix a failing system. And then the third is how to make your systems bulletproof. Let's crack on.
Why do business systems fail? Well, typically it begins with poor system design and implementation. Now, when it comes to designing systems, you just want it to be just right. You know the story about the 3 bears and the porridge being too hot, too cold, or just right? This is exactly the same. If it's too complex or too simple, or it's just not aligned with the outcome that you want, it's just not going to produce the outcome. So how I map this out is using a software like Miro or Figma, and basically you can map out the exact step-by-step process that you need to follow to be able to produce the desired output, right? When it comes to a team situation, you want to make sure that the team adopt it and there's no resistance to change, right? So if it's let's say it's an acquisition system and you have VAs and things like that who manage like the leads, you want to make sure that they're all adopting the system and that they're following the SOPs to the T so that you are actually generating results, because you've designed those SOPs for a reason, and that's because they produce the outcomes that you want. And then obviously, finally, it's just failure to adapt and improve. So the one thing that limits systems is not looking to improve them. Obviously, every single system that you ever build is going to be within an environment, which is, the world, right? You have different things that change around you, right? That's what the environment is. And so if you don't adapt and evolve your systems as that environment changes, then you are obviously just going to get left behind. So I left here, since the system requires inputs, a change mechanism to produce an output with the environment acting on it, the output that is produced provides us with feedback to basically improve the quality of the inputs and the outputs. So when it comes to that iterative improvement, you want to basically be using the feedback from the outputs and then updating the inputs and the processes to obviously get better outputs. So when you're designing your system, if the process that you've designed isn't going to actually produce the desired output with the given inputs, your system won't work, full stop. So if it's a cold cooling system and your inputs are cold leads and your process is to cool them with a script, and your script just isn't designed for making a sale, you're not going to get the desired outputs, right? And so it has to be very aligned with the desired output that you want. If there's no clear communication and training on the system's just not going to get adopted within the team. And as that environment changes, as I mentioned, process isn't changed with that environment, the inputs will no longer equal the desired outputs, right? And so this is sort of what I mean. You have your inputs, you have your process, you have your outputs, and then the feedback. Now, as the environment changes, your feedback is going to change as well. And so the idea is that you want to update your inputs and your processes to be able to keep up with that environment changing. A good example of this is YouTube channels. And so, some people blow up really, really quickly with their YouTube content because their inputs and process has massive amounts of potential energy and it creates massive amounts of views. But as the YouTube ecosystem changes, obviously their channel may die out over time because they're not updating their inputs or their processes to produce a better output that's more suited for the environment. So how do you fix a failing system? This is a core component to designing effective systems and scalable systems. So firstly, you want to define the desired output of the system. What is the exact results that the system needs to produce? What are the outcomes that you're looking for from the system? Each system in your business has a purpose. And then what are the key performance indicators, the KPIs, that define the success of the system? What makes it a successful system? Is it 10 book calls? Is it an appointment booking rate of, 15%? Whatever that looks like, what are those KPIs? And then you want to break it down into the core steps. So typically when it comes to building systems, you have to be the one doing it first to document how it's meant to be done to produce the outcomes. If you start to try and automate too quickly and it's not producing the desired outcomes, but you're just wanting to automate it for the sake of automating, you're not going to get the results because you haven't tried and tested it to make sure that the system actually does work. You want to map out the current system if one exists. You want to identify, obviously, the bottlenecks, the inefficiencies, the gaps, and that's where you can add in more refined processes, but then also things like automations and AI and things like that. Typically, it works well if you ask yourself, what is slowing down in the process? What's stopping the outcome from being produced? What's unnecessary and what's working well? Then you want to rebuild a simplified version. And so if you have an acquisition system that's super lengthy, it's super drawn out, what is the outcome that you want? And then just reverse engineer it. So rebuild it What do I have to put as the input? What is the process to turn that input into my output? Very simple. And then you just want to test and iterate until you reach KPIs. So you want to keep running the system back and forward, making improvements on every test. And then until it meets KPI, you can't automate and scale it. As you reach KPI, you want to scale and automate the system as well. So make sure proper training and documentation is done as well. So what I find is if you store all of your SOPs, all your systems and processes in a Notion doc, basically just saying, this is the SOP for outbound, this is for sending connection requests on LinkedIn, this is for creating content on YouTube, this is for and you move through your whole business and just document it all. It takes so long, but trust me, that's the best thing that you can do when it comes to building your systems. And then moving forward, how can you make the system bulletproof in the future? So you've solved your current system problems, you've redesigned your systems, and now moving forward, how can you make sure that even when the environment changes, your systems aren't going to break? Well, in short, it's just continuous improvement. And so you are going to constantly get feedback from your systems, and that is in the form of data. Now, you want to make sure your data is super clear, so you're tracking it and making sure that it's always hitting KPI. And over time, you just want to keep making sure that data is actually hitting KPI, right? Since the environment that the system's operating in is ever changing, obviously we just have to keep on improving the inputs, improving the process, and making sure that the feedback is in alignment with our KPIs. So as I said here, you just want to track and optimize the constraints that appear over time. So, one day it might be the fact that you're getting a low message seen rate or email open rate or something like that. So it could be positive reply rate is tanked. You just want to keep obviously tracking those numbers and then improving them and finding what's stopping you from getting those outcomes. If your system is completely broken, then just go back through the process, define the desired output. Is it possible in physics? If it's possible in physics, then it's possible. And so just rebuild your system, test, iterate until you hit KPI, scale it, track, and then continuously improve it. What you can do is I highly recommend dashboarding your data. What that means is just centralizing every single piece of data from acquisition, sales, service delivery, and then putting it all in a dashboard and checking your dashboard once or twice a day. Where your attention is in the business, that's what's going to see the best results because you're going to be acting on it more directly. And so you want to look at it every day. Alternatively, you can look at things like automations, which just keep track of your data and then send you notifications every day saying, okay, outbound has hit this, your sales team has hit these results, service deliveries at this stage, and then you can just track it that way as well. I found that to be quite effective. When you are doing this continuous improvement process, you should always be improving your systems with relation to the goal. And what I mean by this is, let's say I want to book 10 calls a day, for example, with my outbound DMs. So what are these improvements that I have to make? What's stopping me from hitting those 10 book calls a day? If it's better performing ads, it's like you just want to keep looking at the constraint in the system. What's my cost per click? What's my click-through rate? Things like that. Is there congruency across my landing page? These are all it's one big system, right? It's your acquisition system. It doesn't matter if it's ads, emails, whatever it is. There's a whole big system there, and you just have to keep making those small changes over time as the environment changes as well. So what I've done is I basically just run you through as to, why does business systems fail, how to fix a failing system, and then how to make your systems bulletproof moving forward. Not many people teach this, I've realized. It's a very straightforward concept. You just have to do a bit of research in your own time, but it just allows you to build these awesome systems that allow your business to produce the results that you want. And it's very evident. Once you start doing it, you'll see massive results, and it's freaking awesome, man. So thanks guys for watching. If you enjoyed it, subscribe, leave a like, follow, all of that good stuff. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video.